In 5.5, you're comparing the return on a treasury bond and a corporate bond. The treasury bond returns in 10 years and has a yield of 6%. The corporate bond has a yield of 9%. So they both have the same maturity. And there's also information about a liquidity premium of 0.5%. And you're asked to find the default risk premium. So to understand this question, you have to understand the risk of a corporate bond and a treasury bond. Now, both of these bonds have the same maturity of 10 years. So really now we're coming down to the yield or the rate on these two bonds. The treasury bond is inferred as being risk-free, so it has zero risk. The corporate bond, on the other hand, has default risk, and for that reason, the investor requires extra compensation, that is a higher yield on the bond for that default risk, and this is known as a default risk premium. So you then have to ask, okay, how much more do you receive on the corporate bond as a result of default risk? Well, it turns out the corporate bond also has a little bit of premium for liquidity. What this means is that the corporate bond is not as liquid as the treasury bond. That is, it's easier to convert the treasury bond into cash than the corporate bond. And for that reason, the corporate bond investor also demands a liquidity premium of 0.5%. So now that we understand these two types of bonds, we can figure out what is the default risk premium. So we know the risk-free treasury has a yield of 6%. The risky bond has a yield of 9%. And there's a liquidity premium on the risky of 0.5%. So right away, the difference between the risky minus the risk-free is equal to 9% minus 6%. But then we also have to back out for the liquidity premium, so less liquidity premium. So we can see that the default risk premium on the corporate bond is 2.5%. So what this is telling us is for taking on additional risk and investing in the corporate bond, we will receive an extra 2.5% solely due to default risk. Of course, there's an additional 0.5% for liquidity. That is, it's a little more challenging to convert the corporate bond into cash. But the default premium received for investing in the corporate bond is 2.5%.